Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wednesday show, November the 3rd. We have an interesting program for you today. Well, I think it's interesting. Going to continue the countdown that we dropped off a couple of weeks ago of my most memorable trips to Las Vegas. Today we talk about number 5 and number 6 in that top 10. And we've got some fun little footage that I put together from last week's trip back to Nebraska. So if you want to hang around and check that out, please do. Number 6 is what I call the Big Win trip. It took place during May of 2016. I spent 3 nights at the Hard Rock Hotel and basically 1 night at the Orleans. I say basically 1 night because I actually ended up checking in at the Orleans the day before I was supposed to. There was some kind of offer where you stayed 2 nights and you got some kind of deal with it. So I kind of had an overlapping day. But I actually stayed at the Hard Rock and ended up upgrading into what was the HRH Tower at that time. As you can tell, it was one of my shorter trips. It was only 4 days. So you might wonder why it was memorable. Well, it was really memorable because of something that happened during that trip. I had kind of my first day in town had not been a particularly successful one. I wouldn't say that I had lost a ton of money, but I had not done particularly well. But that next morning when I was hanging out at the Hard Rock, I started to play some Caveman Keno up at the old Circle Bar. May it rest in peace. And had some pretty good luck there. In addition to a lovely bartender and a couple of morning cocktails, I managed to hit a 7 out of 8 on the Caveman Keno. And I was playing $1 a press. So that was somewhere in the neighborhood of $500. And suddenly what had not seemed like a very good trip was going pretty well. I had decided that I wanted to go downtown at some point during this trip, and I wasn't scheduled to spend any time down there. So now that I suddenly was flush with cash, I decided it would be a good day to grab a cab and head down to Fremont Street. The first place I went was to Main Street Station, which is not uncommon, one of my favorite hotel properties in Las Vegas, downtown or otherwise. And I bellied up to the bar and began to sample some of their tasty micro brews and playing some video poker along the way. And I had played quite a while. I probably put in 100 or 200, and I'd been playing for quite a while at the quarter level and having only minimal success, but basically just kind of grinding my gears. And at that point during the trip, I was mostly interested in some big wins. So I kicked up my bet to 50 cents, playing some, I guess it was double bonus or double bonus or something. It really isn't that important as it turns out, but probably within the first 5 spins, I drew 4 cards to a royal, and bingo, I had my second real royal flush, and I was playing $2.50 a spin. So hey, I just won $2,000. But no, I didn't win $2,000. I hadn't even noticed this when I played there, but this was actually a progressive, and I won over $2,200. So this was a real hand pay, unlike the time they paid me for my first royal flush. Yeah, I had to get the W2G and all that ID crap, and they came and gave me $2,000 some. So now I'm walking around Vegas with like $2,500 in my pocket, slowly getting smashed. Fortunately, no one smashed me over the head and took the money, and much of it ended up going into the safe there at HRH. And while I can't say that the rest of the trip was particularly memorable either for any real, thing that went on, winning $2,200 on the heels of winning $500 earlier in the day made it a trip that I will always remember, and one of those rare trips when you come home with money. Now that's number 6. Number 5 is the very first trip I took to Vegas. It might rank higher, but it was a very short trip. I arrived in town very late on a Friday night. In fact, it may have technically been Saturday morning by the time I got there, and left on Monday just afternoon. So I really had only 2 full days there. I think I've mentioned in the past, the only reason that I went to Vegas that weekend was because I had a couple of friends at work who were planning to do so, and I already had planned a vacation, and so I decided they were kind enough to let me crash in their room. So I decided that I would tack a couple extra days onto the vacation. And of course, the rest is kind of history. I rented a car, so I had kind of a cool experience of once I got it. It took like God knows how long it took to get that car. But sort of haphazardly, accidentally making my way up the strip and having that experience late at night. When I turned on the car radio, it was playing, "Hey baby, let's go to Vegas," which I thought was kind of appropriate. There were a lot of holes in the ground around that time. Places like Bellagio, New York. Stratosphere was in the process of being constructed. It was definitely a very different Vegas. It was also, there were still places like the Sands and the Aladdin. I never made it like down to the Hacienda. In fact, most of our trip, we kind of hung out within a fairly small radius of the hotel we were staying at, which was the Flamingo Hilton. But obviously that trip made a big impression on me because it was the one that became the 2 and then the 3 and so forth. And of course, it was also fun hanging out with my friends and doing some of those things and experiencing Vegas for the first time. People might be surprised to note that on that trip, I mostly played blackjack. It was my game back then. Of course, $3 or $5 a hand, but hey, I wasn't bad at it. So yeah, that trip was quite memorable, and I didn't gamble a lot. I don't remember winning much money, or for that matter, losing much money, and that's probably good. And because on your first trip, a lot of times it's much more just about taking in the sights. So there you go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that look at a couple of my favorite trips to Las Vegas. We are down to the final 4. We'll count down number 4 and number 3 on next week's Wednesday show, so don't miss it. All right, so this is kind of just a little add-on. I'm sure those of you who watched the program remember last week's Wednesday show when we went back to Nebraska and took some footage. Well, we took a little more footage before I left. And so we got a little sequence with me and Lucky, the mechanical cat, much beloved by my mother, and a quick shot of Mom as well. And then also a little, what I'll call a narration of a nearly dead mall that I'll talk over some of the footage that I took there. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoy it. Look, it's Mom. She's very popular on the YouTube now. But here we got the Lucky. Yes, he's almost like a real cat, except he doesn't poop. He don't eat litter box. There you go. Took me like 40 years, but I finally got her a good gift for Christmas. Otherwise, it's like 85 old calendars and a bunch of housewares equipment that nobody ever used. So, all right, there you go. A little bit of Lucky action here this morning. Yeah, say hi to the nice people. All right, bye-bye. Yes, even Lucky, the mechanical cat, is being safe and keeping his social distancing. He's happy to wear a mask. Okay, so this is a quick look at the Conestoga Mall, which was kind of a big deal when I was a little kid. In fact, it opened up, I think, when I was about 11 or 12 years old. As you can see, there's still some food service places there, as well as a theater. But the place has definitely seen, shall we say, better days. There you go, you got a Hallmark store. Another look back in the direction of the AMC movie theater. So I just started filming and decided I would just go ahead and walk through the entire mall, which is not, well, it never really was that big, which you'll see, but when you're a 12-year-old boy living on a farm, it seemed big at the time. Now, as you can see, the most exciting sort of anchor store left at the Conestoga Mall is the Best Buy store. Also the most recent addition to the mall. And it's a good thing it's there, because there's not a lot there. There's a lot of empty spots, places looking for tenants. Now there are some name brand. You got the Bath and Body Works there. That's popular. Got a big craft store, and American Eagle, popular brand of clothing. A lot of little weird kiosks available also at your Conestoga Mall. That was a Hot Topic. Can't beat a Hot Topic. But again, you can see about every other storefront, or every third storefront or so, seems to be kind of empty. As you come up here, you'll see an exit out one side, a Claire's, when you need costume jewelry and you need it cheap. Now down there you can see the JCPenney. That store just recently closed, I think within the last couple of years. And if you go back and look at the footage I did outside, you can see there's still signage on the outside of the mall as well for JCPenney. Incredible bulk. Yeah, and you got those sports memorabilia. There's a train. You can make the train go if you've got quarters. But of course, back in the day, there were bookstores and record stores, and there was a Sears in addition to the JCPenney, and there was a store called Yonkers, which is also a department store. Originally, it had been a local brand called Miller and Payne. Spirit Halloween taking up some space there. I'm guessing that's now empty since it's no longer Halloween. Couple of jewelry stores right here for your needs. And there is still a Dillard's. That's the only other remaining sort of anchor store in the mall. But kind of sad. Of course, this was on a Wednesday afternoon. You wouldn't expect it to be terribly busy. But as you can see, the number of businesses there has dropped off pretty dramatically. But just thought I'd show you around a place which, boy, I tell you, was a big deal when you were a teenager back in Grand Island. All right, so there you go. Little look at Grand Island today and yesterday, sort of. So hope you enjoyed that. I think we're pretty much out of the footage, so we may incorporate some of the stuff we did into some shorts that we're going to play around with. But next week, of course, back with more of my favorite trips to Las Vegas, and probably some other oddities that we'll throw in along the way. And of course, this Saturday, as always, we will be bringing you Vegas Weekly, the latest news and notes and nonsense all about Las Vegas, and we hope to see you there. Till then, hope you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. See you soon.